You ever feel like economics is this huge, complicated thing that's only for, experts in suits? Well, we're about to change that. In just the next few minutes, we're going to do a rapid fire tour of the biggest ideas in economics, all the way from your wallet to the entire world. Ready? Let's get started. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start super small with you and the choices you make every day. Then we'll zoom out to see how markets actually work. After that, we'll look at the really big picture, the entire economic engine of a country. And finally, we'll connect all the dots and see how it all fits together on a global scale. So, where in the world do you even begin with a subject this massive? Well, believe it or not, it all starts with a very simple, undeniable fact about you. Yep, it's that simple. It all starts with the fact that, hi, you're a human. And because you're human, you want stuff. We all do, right? Food, a place to live, maybe a new phone. But here's the big catch. The resources to make all that stuff are limited. There's just not enough to go around for everyone to have everything they want. And that problem has a name: scarcity. It is the fundamental core reason the entire field of economics even exists. Seriously, if we had infinite pizza, economics wouldn't be a thing. But because we don't, we are forced to make choices. And every single one of those choices has a hidden price tag. It's called opportunity cost. It's simply the value of the next best thing you gave up. So right now, your opportunity cost for watching this is probably a dozen hilarious cat videos. That's the trade-off you just made. So if everything is scarce, how do we get more stuff? We specialize and we trade. This works because of a brilliant little idea called comparative advantage. Now look, even if a top lawyer is a faster typist than her assistant, it makes way more sense for the lawyer to focus on law and the assistant to focus on typing, right? By specializing in what we're relatively best at, we all produce more. It's how we all find a way to contribute. Okay, so we've got billions of people all specializing and trading. But how do you manage all those millions of individual exchanges? Well, that's where markets come in. These are the two forces that run every single market. On one side, you've got demand. That's just how much people want something. On the other, you've got supply. How much of it is available? The price you pay for just about anything is simply the sweet spot where these two forces meet in a constant tug of war. But trading physical things is, well, it's clumsy. Can you imagine trying to trade a goat for your Wi-Fi? To solve this, we invented money. And I love this quote because it's true. Money is basically economic lube. It just makes all this trading happen smoothly. Specifically, money does three key jobs. First, it's a medium of exchange, so you don't have to find a barista who happens to want your goat. Second, it's a unit of account, giving everything a clear value. And third, it's a store of value, which lets you save up your goat power for later. Okay, let's zoom out. We've gone from individual choices to markets. Now let's talk about the economy of an entire country. How do we even measure all that activity? We use something called gross domestic product, or GDP. It's the total value of all the final goods and services produced in a country in 1 year. And this formula right here, that's the most common way to add it all up. So let's break that down. C is for consumption. That's all of us buying stuff. I is for investment, which is businesses buying new equipment. G is for government spending. And that last part is net exports, our exports minus our imports. As you can see, in a consumer-driven economy, what you and I buy makes up the biggest piece of the pie by far. Now, that GDP number doesn't just go up in a straight line. It moves in cycles. A boom is when things are growing, a recession is when the economy shrinks for a bit, and a depression, well, that's when it shrinks for a really, really long time. Then, hopefully, recovery begins the cycle all over again. So where does the money for G, that government spending, come from? Well, since governments don't typically sell products, they collect taxes. This shows you the main ways they do it, from taxes on your income and property to specific taxes on things like fuel and alcohol. But of course, no country is an island. So let's move to our final section and see how all these national economies fit together into one giant global system. For all this global trade to happen, countries need to exchange currencies. The value of a currency is usually set in one of two ways. Most major currencies float. Their price changes constantly based on global supply and demand. Other currencies are fixed. Their value is pegged to something else, like the US dollar. One gives you flexibility, while the other offers stability. At a really high level, different countries organize their economies around different philosophies. You have capitalism, which prioritizes private ownership and profit, great for innovation, but it can lead to inequality. You have socialism, which emphasizes collective ownership to get more equal outcomes, but can sometimes struggle with efficiency. And then you have communism, which in its pure form involves full state planning, a system that has historically, well, ended in breadlines. But here's the real secret. No country is a pure version of any of these. The reality is that pretty much every nation on Earth is a mixed economy, blending free market principles with some level of government intervention and social safety nets. So let's wrap this up. What are the crucial takeaways? First, scarcity is real, so we always have to make choices. Second, markets use prices and incentives to coordinate those choices. Third, national wealth comes from productivity. And finally, every single economic system is just a different way of managing these fundamental trade-offs, because no system is perfect. At the end of the day, the entire field of economics, from your personal budget to global trade policy, is just humanity's ongoing attempt to answer these three questions. What are we going to make? How are we going to make it? And who gets what we make? Capitalism, socialism, and every mixed system in between are all just different experiments trying to answer those questions. Which leads to our final thought. Has anyone really nailed it yet? And what do you think the best answer is?